right track. We're working on immigration and immigration reform, and hopefully at some point we'll be able to solve that problem. If the Democrats really wanted to, they could, but they really sometimes don't want to.
Okay, so what will happen to DACA? Pete Hegseth is having breakfast with friends at Mama's West Main Cafe in Hillsboro, Ohio. And Pete, be careful because there's a cop behind you.
No, I feel safe because there's a cop behind me. Of course, one of the sheriffs here in the county. This is Trump country. 73% of this county, Highland County? Highland County went for Donald Trump. And an editor here said that the big media should come out and talk to the real people here and get a sense of why they support the president. So that's exactly what we're doing with Breakfast with Friends this morning. I'm here with Melissa, a small business owner. Melissa, first of all, you feel like the tax plan that was passed is very significant for you.
Absolutely. Being a small business owner, we have 3 different businesses and also a farm operation, and we were just elated. And I think the small business people are going to see that impact the quickest, more than a larger corporation. So it's definitely going to affect our bottom line and help.
Absolutely. There's a looming potential government shutdown. What do you make of that?
I think they need to grow up and just get their act together.
Who's they?
Congress.
So you don't put it on the president. You say Congress can't. Absolutely.
Yeah. He can't even get his cabinet elected. So it's time to work together.
A lot of obstruction for sure. Melissa, thanks a lot. I'll let you eat your eggs now.
All right.
Over easy. We're going to move over to the table of 3 generations here. Jamie, Kenneth, and Kelly. Jamie, you're a small business owner. Again, how has President Trump affected your bottom line?
Just helping with the tax bracket. That really helps out with the small business. And
what do you make of what's happening on Capitol Hill and how they're working against this president?
I think they need to try to get their mess somewhat put together and stop being a stumbling block and do what the American people have.
Who's they?
The Republicans.
The Republicans?
Yes.
So
I'm a little more upset at them than I am the Democrats.
Why?
Just because of the obstruction.
The obstruction.
Yeah.
They're not
stumbling block.
They're not. Do you think they'll get the wall? Do you think they'll get a good deal on DACA?
I hope so. I hope so. I hope they can get together and try to work something out.
We'll see. Kelly, what's the biggest priority for you as a Trump supporter who still supports him? What do you want to see him get done?
My biggest priority for voting for Donald Trump was drain the swamp. I'm tired of the 30 and 40 and 50-year-old people that have been in office doing things since 1950 that haven't changed. It's the same thing. It's a new generation. It's 2018. Let's move on. Let's catch up with the times.
Why do you think Washington resists him? As you said, not just Democrats, but Republicans.
Because he's not a politician, and that's the other reason why I elected him. I didn't want another politician in the office.
Kenneth, I've got to ask you, as you are a carpenter by trade,
right.
What is it about this administration that you like?
He's keeping his promises to the people. He's a common man. And I think he loves this country more than most.
Pollsters will say, but his poll numbers are low. What do you say to that?
Pay no attention to them. Keep plowing. It'll come up. We'll reap the harvest.
And what gives you the assurance that will happen?
I just think he's a different made man than what we've had in there in the past. I think he's honest and sincere and wants to grow this country. And he's not in there because he needs the money.
Well, that's for sure.
That's for sure.
But Mama's West Main is in it for the money, so make sure you all pay your checks, all right? Some great folks here, really. As festive an environment as we've had, it's wonderful to be here in Hillsboro, and we're going to be here all morning long, bringing the people to you, Steve, Brian, and Ainsley, not the pundits.
Well, and it's a work day, obviously. You're going to have a quick breakfast before a full day of work.
That's
Good job, Pete.
I love that family. So fun.
That's great.
And their camouflage, their sweatshirts, their hats.
And the breakfast just looks
It looks
delicious.
so good. The sawmill gravy
And
on
if
the
you saw
table.
Jillian on the weekends, that's how you dress, Jillian, right? Hat on backwards, camouflage.
Absolutely. That's how I dress on my way into work every day.
Oh, really?
Actually.
Okay.
I wear the flannel, plaid shirt.
It's cold
jeans.
outside.
It is cold.
Untuck it shirt, ordered right off the television.
Yes, you just don't tuck it when it's 1 in the morning. No one cares.
Right.
All right, guys, let's get you caught up on your headlines of the day, starting with this. Steve Bannon feeling the fire and fury. The former White House advisor slapped with subpoenas after refusing to answer questions during a 10-hour hearing behind closed doors. Special counsel Robert Mueller and House Intel Committee Chair Devin Nunes both using the legal tool, just the latest twist in the Russia investigation. Bannon set to return to the hot seat tomorrow afternoon. The deadly flu virus strikes again, this time a 10-year-old boy. Nico Malozzi died the same day he was rushed to the hospital, coming home from a hockey tournament in upstate New York. Health officials say he also had pneumonia. The CDC says at least 20 children have died from flu-related illnesses in the U.S. this season. Experts urging everyone to get the flu shot. The virus is now widespread in every state except Hawaii. Heart-stopping video shows the moment fishermen jump overboard to escape death. Just stop what you're doing and watch this.
Hey! 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 Oh my God!
Wow, that boat obviously showing no signs of stopping, plowing right into the small boat in Oregon. One of the quick-thinking fishermen now suing the driver of the other boat, claiming they were speeding and distracted by a cell phone. The fishing boat is wrecked, but no one is seriously hurt. That's one of those videos, guys, that it's hard to watch.
It is hard to watch, and those boats go very fast, and there are a lot of people in the water, and you got to be careful.
What was the reason for the boat going that fast?
Said cell phone, right?
He was on his cell phone?
Claiming speeding and distracted by a cell phone.
Oh, my
Well, that's the
word.
story. All right.
So scary.
I would expect that in a movie with a stuntman, right? And it'd be Fast and Furious.
All right. Jillian, thank you very much. Meanwhile, if you're outside and you're in the Northeast, you know there's a dangerous winter storm stretching from the Northeast all the way down to Texas.
Drivers in Kentucky stuck in their cars for nearly 5 hours after that pileup right there involving several tractor trailers and a Greyhound bus.
Wow, here's a look at the conditions live in Atlanta right now. Nearly 100 flights out of the airport there, the world's busiest. Well, they have been canceled.
That storm now here in the Northeast. Senior meteorologist Janice Dean is here tracking it. And Janice, in front of our building, it is currently raining, but a couple of miles away, it's snowing.
You are correct, and that's because along the coast we've got above freezing temperatures. Look at this, 35 in New York, 36 in Raleigh. But look in New Orleans, 22, 27 in San Antonio, 15 in Dallas. It's currently colder in Dallas, Texas than it is in parts of Alaska. Here's your wind chill, what it feels like with the winds, -9 in Minneapolis. It feels like 5 in Dallas, feels like 8 in New Orleans, so you get the picture. And in some cases, they've seen more snow this season across the Gulf Coast than they have in decades. So several systems affecting parts of the deep south, the Gulf Coast, and the southeast. That's the past 12 hours. We saw snow in Houston, Texas yesterday. Now seeing snow and sleet and freezing rain across the panhandle again of Florida, up towards Georgia, in Atlanta, South Carolina, North Carolina. Schools are closed. Winter storm advisories for parts of North Carolina into Virginia, as well as New England. So there's your forecast snowfall total. Not a ton of snow, but certainly enough snow to cause problems on the roadways, school closing, and we are certainly tracking those airline delays and cancellations as well across the Northeast and all up and down the coastline. Back to you.
Thanks so much, Janice.
Also, beware of black ice around here. When
absolutely.
I stepped out, there was black ice in front of my house.
And a lot of these schools are closed, but the kids still have to make it up. So either that creeps into spring break or it creeps into the end of the year.
You'll end up going to school on Easter Sunday.
It's when, maybe
Doubt that will happen, but
Could
okay.
happen.
Won't happen.
Stay tuned.
Won't happen.
Meanwhile, some conservatives are so sick of some liberals in one state, they want to break away and create a new state.
Yeah.
I'll tell you where it's at.
It's California. They're always talking about that.
What kind of a tease is that?
Should I give it away?
Stay tuned.
All right. It might be California, might not.
Okay.
And you've heard that Nancy Pelosi, what she thinks about the president's cuts, right?
Crumbs that they are giving to workers to kind of put the schmooze on is so pathetic. It's so pathetic.
It's pathetic to get crumbs, like thousands of dollars, but it's not crumbs to our next guest. He's giving out $1,000 bonuses to his employees, and he's putting President Trump's name on the check.
Just a
not Nancy Pelosi's.
Just a scapegoat, Brian.
Scapegoat. When it go to scapes.
My digestive system used to make me feel sluggish, but now I take Metamucil every day.
His owner wants his employees to know just where their bonuses came from, writing right on the check's memo line. As you can see, as we zoom in, Trump Tax Cut and Jobs Act.
Sheldon Wolf is the founder and CEO of Spellex, which is a software development company that's based down in Tampa, Florida. Thank you so much for being with us, and thank you for what you're doing to these employees. Tell us what made you do this and why you put that in the memo.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me first.
Good morning.
I would say, good morning. I would say that, you know, when I was hearing about the different companies like AT&T and Bank of America and some very large companies giving $1,000 bonuses to their employees, it inspired me. And it made me think, well, you know, I can do the same thing. And everything I was seeing or hearing about were these very large companies who were giving out bonuses. And I thought, well, what about us smaller companies, you know, companies with less than 100 employees or less than even 50 employees? We can do the same thing. And I wanted to do it because I'm excited about the new tax plan from Trump and the GOP. And I wanted to share the wealth, as they say. And my employees, who are mostly Generation Xers and millennials, not particularly into politics, it really impacted them when they got in their hand a check for $1,000 that plainly said, this is why you're getting this check, because of the change in a new tax plan.
Sheldon, the way you describe many of the employees you've got there, millennials, not into government stuff, probably may not be fans of the President of the United States, but they got to feel like this is great.
Yeah, exactly. They were all very happy about it. And yes, they thought, you know, I don't think they're particularly fans of President Trump, but nobody was complaining. They were all happy.
I bet.
Some of these lawmakers that have a lot of money in their bank accounts, they're calling the $1,000 bonuses crumbs. Nancy Pelosi said that. What's your reaction?
Well, I've heard that a lot from, I guess, the center or left of center people, and it really amazes me that anybody can find something wrong with the fact that millions of employees, probably 80 to 90% of the workforce, are going to be able to keep additional funds that they were giving to the government. I mean, it's a great deal, but again, as you know, the liberals and the liberal media will try and make something bad out of anything that happens.
Sure.
But this is a particularly great deal for everyone, and it's going to help everyone, and regardless of, what you're hearing from the other side, so to speak.
Yeah, we'd heard from people to the political left that it was just going to impact rich people and big corporations. But Sheldon, you are showing us today that it is impacting people up and down the economic
Sheldon, people
food
are trying to put food on their table and put their kids in college and just be the best that they can. And I think you're helping them do that. Thank you. I'm sure you had some tears from some of your employees when you gave them $1,000. That can really help someone.
Yeah, they were very, very excited.
All right. Have a wonderful day down there in Tampa. Sheldon Wolf.
Thanks for being a good guy.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you for having me.
You betcha. All right. Meanwhile, he served 16 years in Congress and ran for president twice. Now, Dennis Kucinich has a big announcement about his next political move. You will see it on Fox and Friends coming up in the next 20 minutes or so.
And when a crisis strikes, who do the atheists turn to? It turns out they turn to God.
Atheists?
What?
That's just an expression.
I'm more than that. I want you to spread the word. There I am. I exist.
In that classic comedy, Oh God, God comes here to earth to spread the good word, but has a hard time convincing his chosen messenger. Now, a new study finds 1 in 4 atheists or agnostics actually pray when they face a personal crisis, and despite insisting that they're not religious. So let's bring in Fox News religion correspondent or contributor, Father Jonathan Morris, to weigh in on this. Good morning to you, Father. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, good morning, Aisley.
Good morning.
Pleasure.
So why do you think that is? Why 1 in 4 atheists or agnostic calling out to God when they face a crisis?
I think it's because doubt is really a part of our whole experience of faith. And so if I ask somebody on the street, do you believe in God? Some might say, I don't know, or I don't think so. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they are an activist atheist. And so when it comes down to being in a situation in which we can't really come up with an answer that is important during hard times about what this all means or what is there an afterlife, well, then there's an openness to faith. And that's been my own experience. Let me tell you, Ainsley, whenever I go visit a parishioner, for example, in a hospital, I usually ask the nurses, is there anybody here who has no family, anybody else here in the hallway? And they almost always say, yes, why don't you go stop by this room or that room? And I run into people who are agnostics or people who don't believe in God. Not a single one has ever refused or told me, you know what, I would prefer that you don't pray with me. In times of trouble, certainly there's an openness, I think, to God.
That is so sweet that you do that for other people. According to the Gallup poll, more than 70% of prayers do mention family members. They're praying for family. In your experience, what do most people pray for?
Well, you know, I think we do spend a lot of time praying for things. My recommendation, especially for somebody who has doubt in their life, just listen. Quiet your soul and listen, and God will speak. Not necessarily with that voice like we saw from that movie, from that comedy, but will speak to our soul. Hey, do this, avoid that. Or just experiencing the presence of God in your life. Yes, we can ask God for things, but try listening, quieting the spirit and allowing God to speak.
That's valuable information. I remember asking someone, how do you pray? I don't know how to talk to God. How do you do that? And they said, just have a conversation with him. It's really easy, just like you talk to your best friend. Thanks, Father Jonathan. God bless you.
Thank you.
This illegal immigrant is charged with murdering 2 cops in cold blood, and he wishes that he had actually killed more, he says. What he just told a judge is going to make you sick to your stomach. We're going to tell you about it. And Maxine Waters says that she's boycotting the State of the Union. Now, one veteran says he wants her seat. He joins us live.
President Trump insisting he's not going to play favorites with immigration.
I want them to come in from everywhere.
What the American people want, have a right to, and what's good for America is a lawful system of immigration.
The president's language during that Thursday meeting was front and center as his DHS secretary took the hot seat.
Apologies, I don't remember specific words.
Your silence and your amnesia is complicit.
I've been very patient with this line of questioning. I am here to tell you about the threats our country faces.
The media on a new tear to push their narrative that President Trump is unfit to lead, despite his doctor saying that he's in excellent health.
He had great findings across the board, but the one that stands out more than anything to me is his cardiac health. His cardiac health is excellent.
He's borderline obese. Can you characterize that as excellent health?
Did you do a Hep C test? Does he take any sleep aids?
The time would have been better spent having that doctor assess everyone in that room.
The Dow Jones Industrial Average eclipsed the 26,000 mark for the first time.
Broken a lot of records. We're breaking another one today. The stock market is way up. Jobs are back.
We weren't born to follow. Come on and get up off your knees. When life is a pill to swallow.
The guys from Jersey, Bon Jovi, greeting us here on this Wednesday morning where it's snowing outside here in New York City.
Is it already snowing?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
here
see
and
the
there.
umbrellas out there. Not sticking quite yet, it looks like. It will, though.
Bon Jovi used to do our show. We should call them and get them back on.
That would be great.
That would be fantastic.
John, if you're watching.
Yeah,
call
if
us.
you might be watching.
Oh, my goodness. So you know what we were watching yesterday?
What?
Did you watch the doctor,
yeah.
President's doctor, talking about his
This should have
health?
been the most boring press conference
I
ever.
know, right? So he says our president is in excellent health.
How dare he?
First, listen to this, and then we'll get into the good stuff.
The president's overall health is excellent. His cardiac performance during his physical exam was very good. He continues to enjoy the significant long-term cardiac and overall health benefits that come from a lifetime of abstinence from tobacco and alcohol. All clinical data indicates that the president is currently very healthy and that he will remain so for the duration of his presidency. I went through and I looked at a variety of the cognitive assessments that were available. Most of them were very simple, very short. We picked one of the ones that was a little bit more involved. It was longer. It was the more difficult one of all of them. It took significantly longer to complete, but the president did exceedingly well on it. So that was not driven at all by any clinical concerns I have. It was driven by the president's wishes, and he did well on it.
All right, this was so serious that CNN had to bring a doctor to examine the doctor. So they had to wheel out Sanjay Gupta to say this can't be true.
Well, because they were going to get to the bottom of it. This was going to be their chance because the media looks at Donald Trump. He eats a Kentucky Fried Chicken at McDonald's. He's going to be in lousy health. His cholesterol is going to be through the roof.
Doesn't exercise.
And he's crazy. And then, as it turns out His health is excellent, according to the doctor. And for the first time, we believe, in presidential history, the presidential doctor did a cognitive test, did the Montreal test on it, and the president scored 30 out of 30. Keep in mind, the media looking for something bad, and they did not disappoint if that's what they were looking for.
Right, let's take a listen.
You assess the president's mental fitness for office. The president appeared to slur his words while giving an address. Did you look into what the cause of that might have been at all?
Are you ruling out things like early onset Alzheimer's? Are you looking at dementia-like symptoms?
On what basis would you, and this is just a philosophical question, advise the cabinet that the president is unable to discharge his duties? How does that bar get met?
When you analyze his cognitive ability or neurological functions, that is not the same thing as a psychiatric exam or a psychological exam.
It is not.
You mentioned that you gave the president a cognitive test. Was that the mini mental state examination or the Boltzmann test? Or if not, can you tell us what specific cognitive test you gave him?
Given that there's scrutiny of what was overlooked at the time with President Reagan in terms of Alzheimer's and things he was then known to suffer from at a later date. Can you say that whether the test that you ran would exclude any of those things?
The president's age in continuing his physicals in the future, will you also continue the cognitive testing?
You say that the president was the one who requested the cognitive test, that it wasn't necessarily needed for someone of his age. Did he tell you why he wanted it done?
What is your take of all the doctors and clinicians all across the country who have said that in this president they see symptoms of this, that, and the other?
Symptoms in what way?
Well, symptoms of dementia.
Well, it's amazing. That wasn't as crazy. You even got crazier. You say he doesn't drink or smoke, but did you look into drug addiction? He's like, no, he's not addicted to drugs. Some of his friends have called him a germaphobe. Have you found out, is there something wrong with that? Do you have problems with how much he uses Twitter? They asked the doctor, do you have a problem with how often he uses Twitter? What is wrong with these people?
If he had bone spurs and if he wears dentures, too.
Right.
This is the same doctor, keep in mind, that examined President Obama. You
And
said
President
many
Bush,
times,
yeah.
and President Bush many times.
Well, and they wanted to get into the bone spurs because there was, during times of the Vietnam War, there were deferments because of bone spurs. Did you see any? We didn't look for them.
Right.
Why was he sniffly? Well, I gave him one too many Sudafed. Common answers to big, mysterious kind of conspiracies that we've seen in the media. Tomi Lahren was with us just about 45 minutes ago. She watched from California. This was her observation about what she saw in the briefing room.
The time would have been better spent having that doctor assess everyone in that room, because that's the point we've gotten to. Listening to that, if they watch this, if they really watch this, these journalists, they watch this back, and they don't think there's an issue with the questions that they asked or the way they behaved, we've got a major problem here.
And here's the whole thing. It's as if they did not trust the president's doctor. And so later in the day, Barack Obama officials came out on Twitter and elsewhere and defended the doctor. Susan Rice, Valerie Jarrett, Dan Pfeiffer said essentially that the doctor was phenomenal. Doctor, really a great guy as well.
I thought it was
all
smart.
defended Admiral Jackson.
I don't know if it was this president's decision to use the same doctor. I thought that was smart just because he knew the media was going to do this. I also thought it was interesting that the president told the doctor, answer as many questions as you want.
Right.
And he also said, give me the test for the cognitive test, because
One of the
I want to
questions
prove
was
to them
weird.
I'm not crazy.
Name the animals. I mean, draw a cube. I'm like, does that ever come up as president? We need a cube quick. Get the president.
That's just part
What are
of
you
the
talking
test.
about? That was one of the tests.
Yeah, one of the questions. Make a cube.
That's right.
Which you make the square like this, right? And then you just draw the lines.
And in fact, you can take it online.
Right. Oh, you
Really?
can.
Okay.
Yeah, their website was really busy yesterday. We got all sorts of comments from you. Chris emailed this. It was an utter embarrassment to the media and the country that these reporters asked some of the most asinine, subjective, and ridiculous questions I've ever heard about a president's health.
Leanne on Facebook said, I did enjoy watching their spectacle of ridiculous questions designed at taking pathetic digs at Trump. But what I enjoyed more was the doctor shooting them down with every response.
And the media that questioned the president's doctor reminded me of the parade of the lemmings into the sea. Eric Trump will be on a little bit later. He is not surprised that his dad is this healthy because he's never seen someone work as hard and as long and outwork everybody. You saw on the campaign trail.
Yep.
I also thought it was very interesting. People said, wait a second, when it comes to his weight, he's 239 pounds. pounds, which is fine if you're 6'3". But if he's actually 6'2", that would mean that he's way overweight. So is he 6'2" or 6'3"? That's the question that you have on your mind?
Sure. You know what? It turns out the White House press corps accepted the results of the president's cognitive test yesterday the same way they did the outcome of the 2016 presidential election. What?
I blame the Russians.
Meanwhile, let's talk a little bit about this. Yesterday, the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen, confirmed that the Department of Homeland Security has asked federal prosecutors to see if they can actually lodge charges against leaders in sanctuary cities. If sanctuary cities are not going to conform to federal law, essentially they're trying to figure out whether or not they can lock them up.
So de Blasio, Rahm Emanuel, mayors in major cities. I mean,
Philly, California, Los Angeles, Cook County, Illinois, and Chicago are already on a last call list.
She was grilled on
Last
Capitol
warning.
Hill last night or yesterday, and Senator Kamala Harris had this exchange with her about this topic.
ICE agency acting director Homan said he asked the Justice Department to, quote, look into criminal charges for elected officials with sanctuary policies as they are harboring illegal aliens, according to 8 U.S.C. 1324. This comment was specifically about California elected officials. After the enactment of the California Values Act, my question is whether DHS is currently working with the Justice Department to bring Section 8 U.S.C. 1324 charges or any criminal charges against state or local officials.
I believe the request was made. The Department of Justice is reviewing what avenues might be available.
And maybe one of those avenues is arresting the officials, which would probably be a PR mistake because seeing Rahm Emanuel in handcuffs would just inspire people on the left to do more.
But think about this. The Department of Justice already issued a final warning to those cities and said, you know, if you don't cooperate, don't know what's going to happen. Now I think we know what could happen.
Yeah. Let us know what you think about that issue. All right, let's hand it over to Jillian, who had some headlines for us. Good morning.
Good Wednesday morning to you guys, to you at home as well. We begin with a Fox News alert, so let's go ahead and get you caught up. A former CIA agent under arrest for stashing classified information may have been spying for China. According to reports, officials think Jerry Chun-Ching Lee could have played a key role in the execution or imprisonment of U.S. informants. The DOJ says Lee left the agency in 2007. In 2012, agents found secret meeting locations and contact information for covert operatives in a notebook in his hotel rooms. The 53-year-old was arrested at New York's JFK Airport. 9 men now facing charges in the hazing death of a fraternity pledge. 22-year-old Andrew Coffey, a student at Florida State University, died of alcohol poisoning in November. A fellow pledge found him unresponsive after a frat event, but no one called 911 until 11 minutes later. Coffey had a blood alcohol level more than 5 times the legal driving limit. Tomorrow, the FBI director's chief of staff will testify in front of Congress as part of the investigation into Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server. The Washington Examiner reporting that Jim Rybicki will meet with the House Oversight Committee tomorrow. The committee also requested interviews with the agency's lawyer, Lisa Page, and Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, who testified last month. So how about this? A possible meteor lighting up the night sky, startling drivers across the Midwest.
What is that? What is that?
That's a little scary. So many people reported hearing booms and their houses shaking as the fireball flew by. The National Weather Service saying it was most likely a meteor. An emergency alert message was sent out informing people there was no need to call 911. And some of those images, you really see how bright it gets. And I would be petrified if I saw that.
Caught on the Ring doorbell.
Yep.
Brian has that.
Right, I got to
You can
charge
see-
it again. So far, people walking in and out. You have to keep charging it. That's my only challenge.
Good to know. We can just walk into your house now, though, because
I
it's not
guess so.
charged. Thanks.
Right, but you could do whatever
Battery's
you want.
Did not know that.
You porch package thieves can go grab everything you want.
So wait a minute. If you're a robber, you could just, I'm not giving anyone
Just
any
wait it
ideas.
out.
You can just take the batteries out of the camera.
Well,
can wire
we
it.
can
It is
wire it
wireable,
out.
but you have chosen simply to run it on battery power.
Right. You mean I could actually run wires?
You can
into
run
that?
hard wires into them.
Get your brother to do it.
Yeah, I got
You don't know how to do it.
I know. Yeah, forget that.
Anyway, Jillian, thank you very much. Meanwhile, he served 16 years in Congress and ran for president twice. Now Dennis Kucinich has a big announcement about his political future, and it's next on Fox and Friends.
And have you seen this? It's the Senate spectacle going viral. Orrin Hatch removing a pair of invisible glasses. There you go.
My music hits me so hard, makes me say, oh my Lord, thank you for blessing me. What am I to run and do like it feels good when you know you're down.
Steve, great to be with you.
It's good to have you as well. The banner underneath of us right now says big political announcement on Fox and Friends. What is it?
Well, today I'm having a formal announcement of candidacy. I'm running for governor of Ohio, the Democratic nomination. I'm really charged this morning, and I'm very excited to take this big step forward on behalf of the people of Ohio.
Okay, so you're officially announcing later today you are a Democrat. You're a liberal Democrat.
Right.
You know, during 2016, Dennis, I don't have to remind you, Donald Trump won the state of Ohio with 72% turnout. It would appear that the Donald Trump message resonated a year ago. Why do you think the people of Ohio will think that your message, which is more to the left than President Trump's, is their ticket going forward?
Well, I think that I represent the mainstream and aspirations for jobs and health care and education and for a better environment and all kinds of economic progress in the state. But the one thing I can do, Steve, that I don't know there's another Democrat in Ohio who could run for office and do, is that I can reach out to the people who voted for President Trump. I can show them that there are Democrats who stand solidly for economic progress, who want to protect our markets, who want to stand up for everyday Americans. So, you know, to me, that's my constituency, too, and I'm reaching out, and I'm not going to leave anyone out of the picture.
Well, when we were in Cleveland last summer, a year ago, in 2016, it was very clear that, you know, you were beloved by Cleveland. I mean, you were a congressman. You were also a councilman initially. You were the mayor as well. Were you frustrated when, Dennis, when you were in the U.S. Congress, as a member of Congress from Ohio, that it's hard to get things done in Washington? So from the State House, you'll actually be able to impact more lives.
Well, you know, having had that experience at a federal level is very valuable because it's enabled me through 16 years to be able to build coalitions. I've been able to work with people on both sides of the aisle, and I can do the same thing in Columbus. As governor, you're the head of a state of 11 million people, and you know, with the experience that I have, look, I'm going to be announcing a platform today about a can-do kind of approach, which is inclusive, brings people in, which is sustainable, has vitality. I'm ready to go.
I can tell. You want to tell us just one thing from your platform?
Yeah, I want to rebuild Ohio's infrastructure. I mean, totally. There are billions of dollars of needs here, and we want to get people back to work building, building, building.
All right. I think we're looking at some of your official promotional materials right there. Dennis Kucinich, who later today will officially declare he wants to be the next governor of the great state of Ohio. Dennis, thank you very much for joining us today from Cleveland.
Thank you very much to all of you. Thank you.
Good luck to you. All right, 7:20 here in New York City now. This illegal immigrant is charged with murdering 2 police officers in cold blood, and he wishes he killed more. What he just told a judge will make you sick. And some conservatives are so sick of some liberals in California, they want to break away and make a new state, New California. Steve Hilton just moved to California, the old one, not the new one. He's back here in New York to react. Coming up next on Fox and Friends. Brian, say hello to him.
We have some quick headlines for you. 2 illegal immigrants facing deportation after Border Patrol agents find them stuffed into a trunk in Arizona. They were arrested along with the driver and a passenger also in the country illegally. And ICE is reportedly planning a massive immigration sweep in Northern California. Agents planning to arrest up to 1,500 illegals there. Despite California being a sanctuary state, the campaign centered in the Bay Area could happen within weeks and is expected to be the biggest immigration enforcement action under President Trump.
Meanwhile, could the United States soon see a 51st state? Conservatives in California, so fed up with liberals running their state, they're pushing to break away and form a new California.
Well, it's been ungovernable for a long time. High taxes, education, you name it. We're rated really, I think, about 48th or 50th from a business climate.
Here to react is a guy that's kind of new to California, at least the Los Angeles area. The Next Revolution host, Steve Hilton. He moved to California after serving as strategy director to former UK Prime Minister Cameron, and joins us live. So, Steve, this is a debate. Do you think this is a debate worth having?
Well, look, I tell you what's a debate worth having is the complete mess that the liberal coastal elite that run California have made of the state, not just in the last few years, but for the last few decades. I mean, just look at what's going on in California. It's got the highest poverty. There's a housing crisis. People can't afford anywhere to live.
The rash of illegals, the homeless situation.
The homeless situation, just near where I live in San Francisco, it's so embarrassing to be walking around a city with such wealth from the tech industry.
Sure.
And they can't run the basics of a city. So you can understand why people are fed up with it.
Will they call this Calexit or California exit, like Brexit that happened in the UK?
I feel like Cal-Exit is the thing.
Cal-Exit.
But that also could sound like some kind of weird new health drink. I have no idea.
Sounds delicious. Steve, if we could put up that graphic once again that shows the part of coastal California. Yeah. That's the part that predominantly votes super lefty.
Yes.
And it's the balance of the state, is the rural portion of the state. They want out.
Exactly, because their needs aren't being properly represented, because you've got the people on the coast who have a complete lock on the state legislature. You've had a Democratic governor for a long time, over a decade now. And so they feel like their issues aren't being addressed, whether that's, people who work in the farming community. It's just so... it makes them so angry that they feel they don't have a proper voice. That's what lies behind this.
Here's what's changed. I used to live out there, and the stories we used to do is north and south. North and south, there was a difference. The thing that's changed is now it's coast, and I guess east of
everything else. That's exactly right.
It's the frustration New Yorkers feel because they have New York City here. Upstate New York tends to be a little bit more conservative, and Long Island is divided. Yeah. So, but they're hostage to New York City.
But although I personally, I don't really agree with this. I don't like the idea that we kind of divide ourselves into smaller and smaller groups and just stick with the people that are like us. The real answer to this actually is to revive the California GOP, which has been sort of nowhere for years. It doesn't really have a strong presence. It doesn't make the populist argument that President Trump won on in 2016 to the people of California.
State
so
that gave you
Nixon and
Reagan.
Well, they're trying to do it by the book. They're trying to do it exactly the way West Virginia did it and got out of that. All right.
All right, tell us about your op-ed, Nancy Pelosi.
Yes, well, Nancy, I mean, you've been featuring it on the show quite rightly with the crumbs. I mean, but it really captures something really important, a big political shift that's happened. It used to be the case that the Democrats were the party for working Americans, and the Republicans actually struggled with this idea that they were for the rich. Donald Trump has completely turned that around.
As a billionaire,
I know, and now it's the Trump administration that is winning and doing practical measures for working people, more money in their pockets, more jobs, practical steps to improve their lives, when you have the Democrats just basically sucking up to their rich friends and donors, obsessing about identity politics, the kind of things that are said in meetings, just completely off on a different planet from the real lives of working Americans.
And when Barack Obama was president, she famously was talking about this great tax cut for the average American. It was $40.
Right.
Whereas this one, which impacted a lot of people, it was starting very shortly with withholding, and a lot of $1,000 bonuses, $2,000 bonuses. That's just crumbs.
Exactly. And by the way, you haven't even seen the whole effect of this. These are just the immediate effects from the tax change and the bonuses. But over time, you're going to see the economic impact generally in the economy. That's going to raise wages right across the board, even where you haven't had these bonuses.
Without any media or marketing, the tax plan is beginning to convert people. It's even in page 8 of the New York Times today, because people are feeling the impact. Their best sales tool is if this tax plan works, and it seems to be working.
And what's interesting to me is that the Democrats they keep making these mistakes and reveal themselves to really be the party of the rich, sneering at working Americans, sneering at the poor, sneering at their lives and their tastes and their values and the things that matter to them in favor of the elites that they spend their time with.
Right, they're out of touch. All right, Steve Hilton, thanks so much. You're going to be on Outnumbered today at noon.
Right.
We'll be watching.
Same studio, just downstairs.
And we'll watch on The Next Revolution on Sundays, as we always do.
That's right.
Congratulations
on your show. It's
Thank
so
you.
good. All right, New Jersey's new governor just sworn in, and now he's getting down to work protecting illegals and making pot legal. That's your state, Steve.
Thank you.
So what else is on his radical agenda? That's coming up.
And Pete is having breakfast with friends in Ohio. Pete.
That is right. We're at Mama's here in Hillsboro. I don't put my finger on the scale very often about which one I like the most, but I love Hillsboro. This is some great folks and some great food. This is called, I didn't even ask him to clap. That's the truth. This is called the Breakfast Beast. It's the #2 largest on the menu. The Sasquatch is even bigger. I might try that next hour. But coming up next, we're talking to real folks here. Stick with us on Fox and Friends.
What is he doing? Well, it's our shot of the morning. Senator Orrin Hatch caused a social media firestorm when he reached up to take off his glasses. Well, they weren't there, but he pretended anyway.
That's great. He just kept going. The Utah senator looking absolutely unfazed during the Senate Judiciary Committee hearing with Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen.
Hatch's office having some fun with it all, tweeting this out. Oh, you mean his invisible glasses from Warby Parker? They're new. You probably never heard of them.
I love that he's just hoping no one saw him.
Right.
He didn't even act like anything had happened.
Right. No, it's good.
We all know what he's talking about. You know those glasses they pull apart right there at the beginning, right? Or in the front or something?
Seen
and
those,
they
right?
How do they take them off?
Or glasses like these. They're so light, you forget you're wearing them.
So you think he wears regular glasses? It looked like those magnetized one, but maybe I'm wrong.
All right, let's go from that to Ohio. And Pete Hegseth is having breakfast with friends at Mama's West Main Cafe in Hillsboro, Ohio. Today, he's our diner dude. Pete?
That's right. Diner Dude. I will take that. That's a title I will run with forever. Thank you, Steve. It's great to be here in Hillsboro. By the way, the intersection of America, you might say, 62 goes north-south, 50 goes east-west, from coast to coast, from the East Coast to the West Coast, from Canada all the way down to Texas, or down to Florida, I believe it is. So we're in the center of America talking to Trump supporters. The reason we're here is the editor of the Times-Gazette here wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post saying, come to Trump country and talk to Trump voters. That's exactly what we're doing. We're here with Rob and Dennis, two Navy veterans. Rob, you saw the spectacle of the White House press corps interviewing the president's physician. What did you make of that?
I was disappointed, but I wasn't surprised.
Why not surprised?
Well, they don't have any sense of perspective. You know, they wouldn't have treated previous presidents this way. I mean, asking him if he would step on a scale to verify his weight, I mean, that's just crazy.
And if Twitter affects his mental capabilities, why did they treat him this way vis-a-vis other presidents?
Well, because he was an outsider from the beginning, and they just don't know how to deal with him.
Have you? Go ahead.
He goes over their head.
You were a Cruz supporter, then voted for Trump.
Yes.
How do you feel like the president has done so far?
Well, he's doing what he says he's going to do, and he's just not getting much cooperation from Republicans or Democrats.
Well, that's true. Dennis, also a Navy veteran. Thank you for your service, both of you. What do you make? Nancy Pelosi said these $1,000 bonuses, they're just like breadcrumbs. Is $1,000 a breadcrumb?
The folks that's getting it don't think so. So, you know, $1,000 goes a long ways for some folks.
Sure does. What do you make? How do you feel the president's doing so far?
He's doing good. I think he's doing what he said he would do, and hopefully he keeps going.
A scary proposition, a politician actually doing what they said they were going to do.
Well, he's not a politician.
I stand corrected. Well done. Gentlemen, thank you for your service. Appreciate it. We're going to move over to another table over here. We have the bank's not open this morning in Hillsboro because it's all here. The local bank, the bank manager is Diana. Diana, thanks for being here. You had an interesting statement about the president and his disposition. Share.
I typically stay out of politics only because there's way too much drama going on right now. I hate to say it, but the people cannot handle the truth, and unfortunately, Donald Trump is the truth, and he is no filter, has no filter, and unfortunately, the people, like I said, cannot handle it.
And why do you think they can't handle it? Why can't the White House press corps handle that?
It's because they don't like change, and unfortunately, I mean not unfortunate, but Donald Trump is coming in with change.
He sure is, absolutely. Well, Gary, we want to get you. You're the editor of the Times-Gazette. You wrote an op-ed saying, hey, if big media, come to Trump country rather than mischaracterize them as racist or any other labels they love to label. Why did you write that, and what's it like to live here?
Well, as someone living in Trump country, so to speak, or parts of it, you just get tired of how we get characterized by other media and other parts of the country. You know, it's as though you think when you come to places like this, you're going to have to come through a wall of Confederate flags and a bunch of hillbillies making moonshine on the back porch or something. People here are intelligent. They're complicated. And the reasons they supported President Trump are a lot more complicated than what you tend to read in most of the media. And I wanted the opportunity to point that out. I've been critical of the Washington Post. I appreciate the Post giving me the opportunity in some columns to present a different point of view.
Briefly, Highland County went 73% for the president.
76.
76,
Yeah.
I stand corrected. How do they, does 76% still support him today?
I think so. I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but in my opinion, nothing's changed. And if anything, maybe the support's even gotten stronger as they see how hard they're attacking him all the time.
Well, the so-called mainstream media will point to his approval ratings. Imagine if there was actually any positive press at all for this president. And again, pointing at polls has always been a bad thing to do if you're betting against President Trump.
Yeah,
no doubt about that.
Right.
Gary Abernathy of the Times-Gazette, thanks for writing it. And we'll send it back to you here from Trump country.
All right. Pete Hegseth talking about the mainstream media with people on Main Street in
That's right.
Ohio.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. That's
Thank you,
great.
Pete.
And the president's going to be spending a lot of time on another Main Street in Pennsylvania because he has a special election he wants to win. He wants to tell every those people, I haven't forgotten you in Pennsylvania, especially Scranton, where he is really looked up to.
Speaking of Pennsylvania, Jillian is from Pennsylvania.
I am. And I went to the University of Scranton for 2 years.
Oh.
I did.
And what happened?
I left.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's another story for another day.
Way to go, Brian.
Good morning, guys. Good morning to you. Let's get you caught up on some of your headlines right now. An illegal immigrant charged with killing 2 cops seen smiling and showing no remorse in court. He even admits he wished he killed more.
I regret that. The only thing that I regret is the kill too. I wish I killed more of them.
Luis Bracamontes has been deported to Mexico twice before. He is accused of killing a sheriff's deputy and detective in California in 2014. The man responsible for setting off time bombs, injuring 30 people in New York City, is reportedly trying to radicalize other inmates in prison. Prosecutors filing new documents claiming Ahmad Khan Rahimi is sharing terrorism-related materials with fellow prisoners while making light of the September 2016 attack. They say, as a result, he should be sentenced to life when a judge decides his fate next month. Mitt Romney dodging questions about whether he'll run for U.S. Senate despite giving a campaign-worthy speech in Utah.
Great speech. People that give great speeches would look great in the U.S. Senate. Have you ever thought about that?
I have nothing for you on that topic, Natalie.
Are you planning an announcement soon?
I've got nothing for you on that topic. I'm sorry.
The former presidential nominee is staying hush about the race to replace Senator Orrin Hatch. In his speech, Romney spoke about policy issues ranging from the economy and debt to immigration and family values. As look at your headlines, I will send it back to you guys.
All right, very good. Thank you very much.
Yep, thanks.
All right, 19 minutes before the top of the hour. Turning now to extreme weather. It's so cold in Russia, people's eyelashes are freezing over. Russian eyelashes. Look at that.
Russian eyelashes.
Yes.
Temperatures in Siberia plummeting to
Is that real?
as low as 88 degrees below zero.
Why wouldn't they go inside?
This happening in the place known as the coldest village on Earth.
Senior meteorologist Janice Dean is live outside our world headquarters. And Janice, it's a little rainy, it's a little sleety.
Yep, exactly
We're
right.
having a storm.
Is it
We've got
sticking yet?
everything. It's sleety right now, so mixture of rain and sleet and freezing rain, but I got my weatherman umbrella. Shout out to Rick Regmuth. Let's take a look at your maps right now because we do have this Clipper system. This is not a bomb cyclone, but it is bringing snow from the Gulf Coast to Maine, and you can see ahead of this front, this is an Arctic front, by the way, by the temperatures. Look at that, it's 5 in Chicago. It is, getting colder, but it's still not cold enough for snow. Pure snow here in New York City, but north of us and west of us, it is snowing to beat the band. We're also getting snow across the Florida Panhandle again, my friends, and then into central Georgia and the Carolinas. Again, this is not going to be a big snowmaker, but it is going to cause big travel delays on the roadways and in the air. By this afternoon, it will be out of here. Thank goodness. And then it warms up this weekend, which there's the good news. Back to you, back inside.
But a slow go to work and
Yes.
school this morning. All right,
Be careful out there.
Indeed.
Thanks so much, Janice. A little bit of everything for everyone. Some
There you
people
go.
like the cold, some people like the warm.
Meanwhile, it is snowing right now, according to my wife in New Jersey, and that state has a brand new governor, and now he's getting down to work. Among things on his docket, protecting illegals and perhaps making pot legal. So what else is on his agenda? We're going to talk to Eric Trump about that next.
It's the anti-Chris Christie agenda, and Maxine Waters says she's boycotting the State of the Union, remember?
I wouldn't waste my time sitting in that house listening to what he has to say.
Okay, I took that as no, she's not showing. So one veteran sent her a tweet saying he wants her seat. Did he get a response? We'll talk to him.
But first, the trivia question of the day. Born on this day in 1922, this Golden Girls star is the oldest person to ever host Saturday Night Live. Who is she? Be the first to email us at friends@foxnews.com with the correct answer. Quick.
She's been on this show.
We did it.
There's
you
a hint.
did it. We did
I
it.
didn't tell you who it is.
No, not yet.
Love will all save us.
Governor.
Phil Murphy is the darling she was referring to, and now vowing to make the Garden State a sanctuary, even creating a program to protect illegals. Finally.
So to tell us more about this guy, Todd Pyro joins us with what we can expect from Governor Phil Murphy.
Good to see all three
Morning.
of you. Steve, you live in this state. I'm from this state. Could Phil Murphy be the new poster boy for progressivism? The 60-year-old takes the top job in Trenton, vowing to be an antagonist of the president. The mainstream media happy to see the Democrat replace former Republican Governor Chris Christie.
New Jersey has a new governor, Democrat Phil Murphy, and Murphy's inauguration means the departure of the Garden State's tough-talking chief executive for the last 8 years. Republican Chris Christie, who leaves office having earned the dubious distinction of the lowest approval rating for a governor in decades, according to the Quinnipiac poll.
So, what do we know about Phil Murphy, the former Goldman Sachs exec who has long opposed the White House agenda and compared President Trump to Nazis? Well, he plans to establish a state agency to answer questions from illegal immigrants as part of his larger goal of making New Jersey a sanctuary state. And he supports offering state identification, driver's licenses, and financial aid to illegals. Fox News contributor Steve Cortez joined us earlier on the show and weighed in. Take a listen.
He wants to use taxpayer funds, by the way, to protect and promote the interests of illegal immigrants to New Jersey rather than the citizens in New Jersey. You know, last time I checked, Camden, New Jersey, Trenton, Newark, these places are not exactly nirvana. It's not like everything is well there, and they don't have to worry in New Jersey about their own citizens, and they can take care of illegal immigrants who don't belong there in the first place.
The former ambassador to Germany under the Obama administration also said he supports legalizing recreational marijuana, raising the minimum wage, and raising taxes on millionaires, adding that he wants the Garden State to become, quote, a progressive beacon. And that may just happen, guys. With Murphy's inauguration, Democrats now have full control of New Jersey state government.
But for New Jersey to be a sanctuary state, I live in New Jersey. I don't know anybody in my neighborhood who thinks that's really a good idea.
When I told my parents I was doing this story today, they're, why are you talking about him? He's going to make this a bad state. And this is the general consensus. Also, you heard Steve Cortez talk about the cities. Our cities aren't the best. We should focus on our cities first and then worry about other issues.
Right.
A new era in Trenton.
If you listen close, you can hear the taxes going up.
You can.
Right now. Right. And it's good to know the president's going to have another antagonist. He was out.
Yeah.
So this would be the only one.
Nobody left. Right.
Really.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you. Thanks, Todd. Tell your parents, say. Hey, parents. They're
watching.
Right? All right, what does Eric Trump think about the new New Jersey governor? He's going to join us live on the couch at the top of the hour.
Plus, Maxine Waters says she's going to boycott the State of the Union just about 2 weeks from now. So one veteran sent her a tweet saying, "I'll take your seat." Did she respond? We'll find out from the vet next.
You take care of business. Let Office Depot Office Max take care of you. And this week only, all PCs are on sale. Save $250 off this HP laptop. Plus, protect your investment with an accidental protection plan. Office Depot Office Max. OfficeDepot.com.
Got swagger like.
Let your inner light loose with One-A-Day Women's. A complete multivitamin specially formulated with key nutrients, plus vitamin D for bone health support. Your One-A-Day is showing.
It's frustrating when you can't see clearly. Imagine there were wiper blades that did more than just wipe away the rain. Rain-X Latitude Water Repellency 2-in-1 wiper blades. Our revolutionary blades include the water-beating magic of Rain-X and works by applying the repellent directly to the glass. So water magically beads up and rolls away while you drive. Compared to traditional wipers, the difference is amazing. That's why Rain-X just won the prestigious Product of the Year award. Rain-X, outsmart the elements.
New testimony that could shake up the Russia probe. Martha gets details from Trey Gowdy. Then, immigration, front and center. Tucker has the debate you can't miss tonight.
When I received the diagnosis, I knew at that exact moment, whatever it takes, wherever I have to go, I'm beating this. My main focus was to find a team of doctors that work together.
When a patient comes to CTCA, they're meeting a team of physicians that specialize in the management of cancer.
Breast cancer treatment is continuing to evolve, and I would say that CTCA is definitely on the cusp of those changes.
Patients can be overwhelmed. We really focus on taking the time with each individual patient so that they can choose the treatment appropriate for them.
The care that CTCA brings is the kind of care I've always wanted for my patients. Being able to spend time with them, have a whole team to look after them is fantastic.
I empower women with choices. And it's not just picking a surgeon, it's picking the care team and feeling secure where you are.
Surround yourself with a team of breast cancer experts at Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Visit cancercenter.com/breast. Appointments available now.
Take one.
Let's talk about when you got braces for the first time.
I did have to wear headgear.
Pieces of metal in your mouth. Popping off rubber bands. I'm breaking off brackets.
And by the end, my teeth moved back again.
Goodbye, embarrassing wires and brackets. At Smile Direct Club, we straighten and brighten smiles for 60% less than braces. Each month, we'll send you invisible aligners that gently straighten your teeth for $95 a month. Go to SmileDirectClub.com to get started risk-free.
When we love someone, we want to do right by them.
What is this?
But habits are hard to break.
Honey, where are the habaneros?
And then there are things we can't control, like snoring. Now the answer is right under your nose. Introducing Theravent Anti-Snore Strips. Clinically shown to reduce snoring with the power of your own breathing.
Nice try.
There are always things that are hard to let go of. Now, snoring isn't one of them. Theravent. The answer is right under your nose.
Now it's time for your answer to the question of the day. It's called Betty White. She is 96 years old today, was also in Tanked. And our winner is Elizabeth Pittenger from Washington State. She knew that Betty White was 96. She's been watching our show since 1999, and because of that, you'll be getting copies of Andrew Jackson, The Miracle of New Orleans, a book that's out right now, ranked number 7, and Ainsley's brand new book, Through Your Eyes, also is number 1 in the world.
Congratulations.
Sign and send.
And happy birthday to Betty White. Meanwhile, switching gears, Maxine Waters is one of a growing list of Democrats planning to skip the State of the Union address just about 2 weeks from now.
I take my time to go and sit and listen to a liar. I don't appreciate him, and I wouldn't waste my time sitting in that house listening to what he has to say. He does not deserve my attention.
Wow. One veteran said, okay, who served, by the way, in the Army for 10 years and deployed twice to Afghanistan, tweeted out an idea for the Congresswoman. Quote this: I would like to take Maxine Waters' seats at the State of the Union address. If they don't want to go to this military veteran, if she doesn't want to go, this military veteran would gladly go. I'll tell the president how much he means to myself, my family, and my military, and all of his supporters.
Well, that tweet was from Army veteran Ricky Taylor, who joins us right now from our nation's capital. Ricky, good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Let's start at the beginning. Why do you call yourself the deplorable vet as your handle on Twitter?
Well, I think, you know, so many people, you know, Hillary Clinton, she's the one that, you know, called us deplorable. And I think, you know, one thing that we did do, and us deplorables, was we just kind of ran with it. We just kind of said, you know, we're going to be his supporters, and we're just going to run with it. You can call us what you want, but we're still going to support our president.
And you all of a sudden hear her stand is, you know that she wants the president impeached, and she gets big applause lines for that. He says, what bothers you is you dislike the fact that Waters acts like she speaks for all black people.
Yeah, I did, because, you know, she goes on TV, and just because she's black, she thinks that she speaks for all black people. Well, you know, I have, you know, black family members. You know, I'm half black, half Puerto Rican. And, you know, there's so many Trump supporters out there that are minorities, and he's got the support of them. And, you know, she doesn't speak for everybody.
Yeah.
She sure